conference delegates here. So I want to welcome you very warmly, and please give yourselves a warm round of applause for getting yourselves here. Now, Kulisa mentioned me as the custodian of this project, but I'm the one that stands at the podium and gives the presentation. But the people that really make it happen are the staff at the NRF, and I would like all the NRF staff that are here that have been involved with this, Linda and team, Dr. Carol Nonquelo, who has now left the NRF, and is research director at University of Pretoria. Carol, Linda, Khomotso, other colleagues that are here, will you please stand up so that the delegates can see you? So there are, ladies and gentlemen, I think there might be other people that have not specifically mentioned, so I welcome you all very warmly, and we look forward to a very productive and engaging day. So let me move on then to my presentation. Okay, the South African PhD project is a program that we initiated in 2008, and we had the second PhD conference here, but that was the first full conference that we have. So in a sense, this venue feels like home. But this year, for the first time, we've decided to take it to the regions, and this is now the second of 3 regional conferences that we're having. We've had one in Durban recently, and in these 3 regional conferences, we would have had in excess of 600 students attending these conferences. Not all students, some of you are would-be students. I think some of you might be familiar with this book, The Tipping Point, or you may even have read it. And what Malcolm Gladwell has gotten people thinking about in his book is what he calls the tipping point. And so what are we talking about when we talk about a tipping point? It's that magic moment when an idea, a trend, a social behavior crosses a threshold and tips and spreads like wildfire. So what we're trying to do in South Africa is we're trying to get you to understand what is a PhD, why a PhD, and why is NRF, and why is DST, and why is it as a country, and even if you look at the National Planning Commission, Leila will be talking next after me, and she'll give you some stats from the National Planning Commission. Why is it that even the National Planning Commission is talking about increasing the number of PhDs in the country? Now, for many years, we've all been doing our little bits and pieces individually, but what we're trying to do here is to mobilize ourselves as a country so that we all work towards a common goal. I hope I'm going to convince you why it is that we as a country need more PhDs if we want to be successful and advance as a country. And those PhDs are going to come from amongst you and other colleagues. So we have set as a country a very ambitious target, and this modeling was done about 5 years ago, and we had said we wanted to increase by 5-fold the number of PhDs in the country. So if you look at this graph, we're not trying to achieve this tomorrow. It's a gradual increase. As we start to increase the numbers of PhDs, we increase the capacity, and then we get to that tipping point where we really can massify the numbers of PhDs that we produce. Now, the Planning Commission has looked at this data, and that's looked at other data, and you will see slightly different statistics reported in different places. The bottom line is that we do need to substantially increase the number of PhD graduates in South Africa. So why do we want to do that? We're not alone in this. Globally, there's a focus on increasing the number of PhD graduates. And when we say PhD graduates, we're saying high-end skills. So let's look at some of the other countries. Look at China, for example. China didn't just get to where they are by accident. They substantially increase the number of high-end skills or knowledge workers by increasing the number of PhDs. Look at Korea, Taiwan, Japan, Germany, for example, already had a high number, but they at least maintained that high number. Even the UK has substantially increased their number of PhD graduates, and the USA was leading, but even then, still increasing. Now, if we look at us in South Africa and we compare ourselves in 1991 and 2004, we've made very little progress. And if we look at how we compare with the other countries. So if we want to compete as a country, we want to compete economically, we want to compete, we want to have internationally benchmark education, we want to advance as a country, we need also to be playing in this knowledge economy. And our government has taken a stance that we do want to be part of a knowledge-based economy. So to do that, we need knowledge workers. This again shows you the statistics in terms of the number of PhD graduates per million population in various countries. Now, that data is from 2007. It hasn't changed very much. We in South Africa were producing in 2007 27 PhDs per million population. And you can see the statistics there, how we compare with other countries. So it was this that gave us this impetus to say we want to increase the number of PhDs in the country. Now, when we said fivefold, if we were to achieve that fivefold increase, we would simply be playing catch up. But even if we achieve a threefold, at least we're going to be able to have some chance of being competitive as a country. So why the PhD? Firstly, it's that pinnacle qualification. It is by definition broadening the frontiers of knowledge. Many of your self-employed innovators and job creators are people with PhDs, if you look internationally. And the research done by Drucker, who's a management, in the management field, has told us that 85% of new jobs are going to be in the knowledge and in the service work sectors. And for any country to be successful, you have got to invest in human capital. Yes, we need the infrastructure. Yes, we need all the fancy technology. But if we don't have the human intellect, we will not move forward. Now, I know that the situation is not quite the same in South Africa. We're an emerging economy. We're a new democracy. We have all the historical challenges that we're dealing with. But if we look internationally, the employment of doctoral graduates ranges from 97 to 99% and exceeds that of other university graduates. So we can either sit back and say, well, we don't have the capacity to absorb the PhDs, or we're going to say we're going to create the capacity to absorb them. And the examples to use again are countries like Brazil, China, India, the BRICS countries that we're part of. Our BRICS partners have adopted these strategies of let's invest in these high-end skills so that we then have the capacity to drive the initiative, drive the industrial development. If you look at economic theories, these argue very strongly that knowledge is crucial for national economic growth. And I've given you, for example, the BRICS countries and many other countries where this is evidenced. And you get what you call a spillover effect. Now, how do we fare as a country? This is our global competitive index compared with other countries. In 2009-10, we ranked 45 internationally. We've dropped to 54. So we have to, as a country, look at what it is that we need so that we can move forward. And as I said, underpinning all of this is human capital development. So some of the drivers of a global competitiveness is a knowledge-based society, investing in human beings, human capital development, and then the technological innovations. We can import the technology, but if we don't have the people, we can't move forward. Now, I've mentioned the word knowledge economy several times. So what does a knowledge economy mean? It's defined as the use of knowledge to produce economic benefits. And for a country like ours, it's not just increasing, strengthening the rand and increasing our foreign reserves. It's also about improving the quality of lives of the people of the country. It's reliant on harnessing human and social capital produced by knowledge workers for growth and prosperity. And when we're talking about prosperity, we're talking about improving the quality of lives of people. And we're producing postgraduates through research activities to play this pivotal role in progressing in this knowledge economy. Now, this is a nice example to use. It's a Singapore story. And in a very short period, from 1960 to the turn of the century, you see how they went from a labor-intensive country to a skill-intensive, to capital-intensive, to technology-intensive, and now a knowledge-intensive country. But this does not happen by accident. There has to be a deliberate strategy at a national level. So let's look then at the South African landscape. Of concern is the fact that we've seen a decrease in the number of postgraduate students enrolled at universities. And we know that there are multiplicity of factors associated with that, and I'm not going to go into those factors now. We've seen a decline in the number of honors students in this country. And although we're producing those PhDs, and I think on the last count we produced about 1,600 PhDs in the year, 60% of those PhDs are in the humanities. Now, we're not saying produce fewer, we're saying increase that 40% in the natural sciences and engineering, which is largely the set fields that bring about these innovations. Also of concern is that it's taking people a long time to get their PhDs. We're getting PhDs on average at the age 40, and if we compare ourselves internationally, people can get their PhDs as young as 25 and perhaps around 30. And also of concern is that while we've increased the number of black PhDs in the country, 25% of those graduates are from the continent. Now that in itself is not a bad thing. But what is of concern is that we need to increase the number of black South Africans as well. And then also of concern is the fact that only 1/3 of university academic staff have doctoral degrees.